Ever trusted someone completely, someone you thought was your partner in everything, only to find out they were working against you from the start? Yeah, I've been there. And trust me, it doesn't end well. I'm Zach. I'm 28 years old, born and raised in Jackson, Mississippi. People around here know me as the guy who'll always lend a hand, the guy who'll help you move a couch at 2 in the morning, or the one who'll drive 30 miles out of his way just to make sure you're okay. I've always believed in people. It's just who I am. For the last 3 years, I've been in a relationship with Sophie. She's the kind of woman who can make you forget all the chaos around you. She's been everything to me, my support, my confidant, my best friend. At least that's what I thought. Before I proceed, kindly subscribe and comment. But today things feel different. It started with her message. A simple line, "Meet me here. I've got something important to share. It's time we take this to the next level." She'd sent it earlier this afternoon, and now, as I sit in my car parked outside the old family estate, a strange unease has settled in my stomach. It's a feeling I can't shake off. Something's off. Something in the way she worded it, like she was preparing me for something I wasn't ready for. I've known Sophie for a while now. We met in college, and from the moment I saw her, I knew she was different. She had this presence, this energy that pulled you in. She's always been so confident, so sure of herself, and I've always been the guy who just wanted to make things work. I never questioned things, at least not until now. Her message weighs on me now, replaying in my mind. It's time we take this to the next level. What does that even mean? She'd always talked about our future, how we'd build something together, grow old together, all that stuff. But as I sit here looking at the family estate, our family estate, those words feel hollow. I stare at my phone, rereading the message. I tell myself it's nothing, maybe just her way of saying it's time to talk about our future. Maybe she's just excited about something. But the gut feeling, that sharp, undeniable feeling, tells me this is more than just a conversation about the next step. I can't help but think about how everything has been going so well between us. I mean, we've been through the ups and downs, right? And I've always trusted her, always thought she had my back. We've made plans, talked about everything from jobs to life to the house we'd build together. I never once thought she could be hiding something. But maybe I've been blind. Maybe I've been so wrapped up in believing that everything between us was perfect that I failed to see the cracks. I take a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves. Whatever it is, I need to hear it. I have to face whatever is coming, no matter how unsettling this all feels. I start my car and drive up the long driveway, the gravel crunching under the tires. The house looks the same as it always has, big, imposing, full of memories. But today it feels like a stranger's house. My mind is racing, trying to process every possibility, trying to make sense of the sudden shift in the air between Sophie and me. I pull up to the front door, my heart beating faster with every passing second. Something tells me that once I walk through that door, nothing will ever be the same. And I can't help but wonder, what if she's been planning this all along? I still remember the first time I really trusted someone. It wasn't just about love or companionship, it was about giving someone the power to hurt you, knowing they could break you but choosing not to. That person for me was Sophie. She was calm in my storm. We'd been together for a few years, but it felt like a lifetime. Sophie always knew how to soothe my worries, how to pull me out of my darkest moments. Her voice was the one I turned to, her presence the one that anchored me when everything else felt like it was falling apart. It was supposed to be our future we were building, but now, in hindsight, I realize it was only ever going to be her future. I had no idea what was coming. The letter arrived on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. The kind of day where everything feels heavy, where the clouds hang low and you can't escape the oppressive weight of the sky. I stared at the envelope in my hands. The letterhead was from my grandfather's lawyer. My heart skipped a beat. I hadn't expected anything from him. He'd been sick for so long. And then, a few months ago, he passed away. I had always been close to him, but his death had been quiet. No drama, no public mourning, just an old man quietly slipping away. That's how I'd always known him, quiet, reserved, and simple. Never a showman. And yet, this letter from his lawyer carried more weight than any of the words inside could have ever hinted at. I opened it, hands trembling. Inside was a document revealing the inheritance my grandfather had left for me. It was everything I could ever need. A large sum of money, multiple properties, stuff I didn't even know he owned. But there was a catch. There was always a catch with my grandfather. In order to claim it, I had to pass a series of tests. A list of challenges designed to test my character, my morals, and my ability to make tough decisions. There were rules, things I had to prove, choices I had to make, betrayals I might have to live with. And at the end of it all, if I succeeded, I'd own it all. The wealth, the properties, everything. It was overwhelming. But what struck me most wasn't the size of the inheritance. It was the fact that my grandfather had planned this, had prepared this for me. He believed in me enough to think I could handle it. I guess he was wrong. Sophie was with me when I read the letter. She saw the shock on my face before I even said anything. I remember how she placed her hand on mine, her voice calm as she reassured me like she always did. "We'll do this together," she said. "You're not alone. We'll get through it." I didn't realize it at the time, but Sophie had already begun to weave her web. She saw what this could mean for her, not just for me. She didn't care about the inheritance the way I did, about the legacy my grandfather had left behind. She was already thinking about what she could take from it. She convinced me gently at first that the tests were meant to help me grow, that they'd challenge me, but in the end I'd be stronger. "You deserve this," she told me time and again. "This isn't just about the money, it's about what we can build together." Sophie's influence over me was so subtle, so gradual, that I couldn't even see it happening. Every time I hesitated, she'd push me. When I doubted myself, she'd remind me of the future we could have, the life of luxury, the freedom from worry. She'd speak about our future as if it were a guarantee, as if we'd already won. But I was too trusting. I couldn't see the way she was molding me, shaping me into someone I didn't even recognize. She would ask me to take risks, little ones at first, minor moral compromises that seemed insignificant in the grand scheme of things. "It's just a game," she'd say. "We're playing to win. There's no harm in a little deception, just this once." Each time I said yes, the stakes got higher. And I didn't question it, not for a second. I wanted to believe she was right. I wanted to believe she was with me, not just in this for herself. But with every choice I made, I felt something inside me crack. Not immediately, but over time. I was losing myself in the game she'd set up for me. A game where trust became a currency and the only way to win was to make morally questionable decisions. Each challenge she helped me complete made me feel a little emptier. I should have stopped. I should have seen the signs earlier. But Sophie had this way of making me feel like it was all part of the plan. That if I just kept going, I'd have everything I ever wanted. And I trusted her. I trusted her with everything. If only I had known that the game was never mine to play. The first challenge was simple in theory but harrowing in execution. It was the kind of thing I never thought I'd be capable of, but Sophie made it sound so easy. "It's just a game, Zach," she said, her voice soft, almost coaxing, as if she were reassuring a child. "You don't have to feel guilty. You're just doing what needs to be done." I wish I'd listened to the part of me that told me to walk away. But I didn't. Instead, I followed Sophie's lead, like a puppet following its master's strings. The challenge was this: deceive my closest friend, Jared, into handing over a valuable asset. Something he'd been holding on to for years, something my grandfather had entrusted him with. It was a piece of property, a house actually, a place that had been in our family for generations. Jared had been the one to look after it, take care of it when my grandfather couldn't. I knew it meant something to him. But Sophie's voice echoed in my head, whispering how this was necessary, how I couldn't possibly move forward without it. "Jared won't mind," she assured me. "You're his best friend. He'll understand why you need it. It's not personal. It's just business." I wanted to believe her. I did. And at that moment, I told myself it wasn't really a betrayal. It was a sacrifice. After all, Jared had always had more than me. He had a family that supported him. I didn't. What harm could there be in taking something from him that would help me secure my future? Sophie said the inheritance was just a few steps away. All I had to do was keep playing. So I did. I met Jared at the coffee shop we'd been going to for years, the place where we'd spent hours talking about everything. Our dreams, our frustrations, our futures. The place where I used to feel safe, where the weight of the world didn't feel so heavy. Jared looked at me with his usual grin, that easy smile I knew so well. But I wasn't looking at him the same way anymore. I was looking at him like a chess piece. I was already planning my next move. The conversation started innocently enough. I casually brought up the house, the property. I told him I was thinking about moving forward with the inheritance, that things were looking good for me, and I might need to make some adjustments to the assets. Jared was easy to convince. Too easy. He looked at me with concern, but when I told him the truth about how important it was for me to make this work, he softened. He agreed almost too quickly. He handed over the paperwork for the property, no questions asked. And just like that, it was mine. But as I walked away from that coffee shop, holding the signed documents in my hand, a wave of guilt hit me like a truck. I didn't even stop to look at the papers. I just stuffed them into my jacket, my stomach turning with every step I took. I'd done it. I had betrayed Jared. But I couldn't stop. Sophie's voice echoed in my mind. It's just a game, Zach. This is how it's played. You'll thank me later. I wished I could believe her. I wished I could pretend that everything was fine, that I was just making the right moves. But deep down, I knew I wasn't the man I used to be. I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, someone willing to do anything, no matter who I hurt, to get what I wanted. And for what? Some inheritance? Some money that could change my life but might cost me everything else? Sophie seemed to sense my hesitation. She knew the moment I walked through the door that I was rattled. She held me close, kissing me gently, assuring me that it was just the first step. "We're almost there," she whispered, her words like honey, soothing my frayed nerves. But something was off. Sophie was acting too calm, too controlled. There was no hesitation in her, no sign of guilt or conflict. She was playing me, and I didn't even realize it yet. As the challenges continued, I started noticing things I hadn't before. Sophie's secretive phone calls. The way she was always smiling a little too wide whenever I made a decision that moved us closer to the inheritance. I began catching glimpses of texts I wasn't meant to see, dealing with people I didn't know. She was keeping secrets from me, things I had no part in, things I couldn't understand. But by now I was too deep in. Sophie's influence had become like a drug. I couldn't stop even when the stakes got higher. I needed her approval. I needed her validation. Every time I hesitated, she would remind me, "This is for us. This is for our future." And so, I kept going, pushing myself further into this game of deception, until my values were just memories fading in the distance. The first major twist came when Sophie laid it out for me. Jared was the next target. She told me he couldn't be trusted with the inheritance. She convinced me that Jared, being so close to the family, might be entitled to part of it. She whispered in my ear, playing on my insecurities, feeding me the lie that if he found out how much was at stake, he would want a share. "He'll betray you, Zach," she said. "He's your friend, but this money, it's too much. He'll take it from you if he knows. And you can't let him. You can't let anyone get in the way of what's ours." I could feel the fear building inside me, mixing with the guilt. But I didn't stop. I didn't tell her no. I didn't even argue. I just did it, turned on my best friend, the one person I had always trusted more than anyone else. I lied to him, making up excuses, convincing him that it was for the best. And as soon as it was done, I regretted it. But Sophie was right there, pulling me back from the edge. "You did the right thing," she said, stroking my arm as if nothing had happened. "This is what we have to do to make it work." I wanted to believe her. I wanted to think that this was just part of the plan. But with every step I took, with every decision I made, the person I was slipping further away from the man I once was. I was losing myself. And Sophie? She was winning. The weight of the final task was heavier than anything I'd faced so far. It was a decision I knew would change everything, yet in some twisted way Sophie made it sound so simple. "This is the last step, Zach," she kept telling me. "After this, we can have everything we've ever dreamed of." I had already sold myself to the game, hadn't I? The lies, the betrayals, they were all part of the plan. Sophie had promised me it would be worth it. Our life together, free from worry, full of luxury, a future that had once seemed so distant. All I had to do was take the final step, publicly sever my ties with my family. "It's for the future," Sophie had said, her voice calm, persuasive, like it always was when she wanted me to fall in line. This is the only way to prove you're worthy of everything your grandfather left behind. The inheritance is ours. All we have to do is claim it. I felt the fire in her words, the urgency, the promise of something greater. But deep down, the last shred of my conscience screamed at me. My family, people who had supported me through thick and thin, had given me everything I needed to get this far. They were my foundation. How could I betray them now in front of everyone? How could I throw them away just for money? But I was too far gone. I couldn't back out now. The pressure had built up so much over the last few weeks that it felt like there was no turning back. I had already lost so much of myself. What was one more sacrifice? The day I had to confront my family arrived. I was scheduled to attend a public family gathering, the perfect time to publicly renounce my connection to them. Sophie had made sure everything was set. The cameras, the lawyers, the press, everything would be in place to make the break clean and the inheritance would be mine. But as I stood in front of the large mirror in my family's old study, my reflection staring back at me, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. The guilt gnawed at me. My hands shook and I felt like a stranger in my own skin. Sophie, ever the calm, composed presence, stepped into the room behind me. She smiled, her hand resting gently on my shoulder, as if this was just another part of the plan. "You're doing the right thing," she whispered. "You'll see. After today we can finally move forward. You'll have everything you ever wanted." I looked at her, and for the first time in a long time, I didn't see the woman I had loved. I saw someone who had manipulated me, who had slowly twisted everything I believed in until I no longer knew who I was. Sophie wasn't just my partner, she was the one pulling the strings, using me as her puppet to get what she wanted. And at that moment, the truth started to unravel in my mind. I needed a break, needed to clear my head. I told Sophie I'd be back in a few minutes and slipped away to the study. I wandered aimlessly, my thoughts a storm of confusion and betrayal, until I saw it. Hidden beneath a pile of old letters on the desk, a crumpled piece of paper. The handwriting was unmistakable. It was Sophie's. I opened it, heart pounding, and began to read. My stomach sank with each word, a deep dread settling in my chest. "Zach will do what I need. Once the inheritance is secured, I'll leave him. He'll be a stepping stone to something greater. I'll have everything and he'll never know the truth. I've made him trust me completely. He doesn't suspect a thing. After this, I'll walk away with the fortune, and he'll be left with nothing but a broken heart." The words blurred in front of my eyes. It felt like the ground had been ripped out from under me. Sophie, the woman I thought I could trust more than anyone, had been planning to leave me all along. Everything she'd said, everything she'd promised, it had been a lie. The inheritance wasn't about us building a future together. It was about her securing the money for herself, using me as a pawn to get there. The weight of the truth hit me like a freight train. It wasn't just the inheritance, it was the entire relationship. Sophie had never been in this for us. She'd only been in it for herself. I walked back into the main hall, numb, my mind racing. Sophie was waiting for me, smiling that same fake smile. She thought everything was going according to plan. She thought I was still her puppet, ready to make the final cut. But I wasn't the man she thought I was. I wasn't the man who would let her win, not after everything she'd done to me. "Zach," Sophie said, her voice laced with fake sweetness. "Are you ready? It's time." I didn't answer right away. Instead, I reached into my pocket and pulled out the letter that had shattered everything I thought I knew about her. Sophie's face paled as she saw it. The smugness faded, replaced by the first crack of fear I'd ever seen in her eyes. "I know everything," I said, my voice steady, but it felt like I was breaking inside. "The inheritance was never about us. It was always about you, Sophie. You used me. You played me. And now I'm done." Her lips parted, but no words came out. I could see her scrambling for something to say, some excuse, but there was nothing left to say. She had already betrayed me, and now the truth was out. I looked at her one last time, my heart heavy with the weight of the betrayal. "You'll never have me, Sophie. Not anymore." As I walked away from her, I could feel the gravity of the situation pulling at me, but I also felt something else. Relief. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I was finally free. Sophie had played her game, but in the end, I was the one who walked away with the victory. But the victory felt hollow. I had lost so much in this twisted game. And I couldn't help but wonder, was the inheritance worth it? Or had it been the cost of something far more valuable? As I left the house that had once felt like home, I realized that no amount of money could fill the void that Sophie's betrayal had left behind. The future we had talked about was gone. And with it, a piece of me that I could never get back. But one thing was clear, I was no longer the man Sophie had shaped me into. I was free. And that, in the end, was worth more than anything I could ever have inherited. The confrontation was inevitable. I had spent days, maybe even weeks, turning everything over in my mind, replaying every moment with Sophie, every smile, every kiss, every word of reassurance. But none of it mattered. Not anymore. She was sitting across from me, her calm, steady gaze fixed on mine as if nothing had changed. As if the entire foundation of our relationship hadn't just shattered in an instant. Her eyes, once warm and loving, were now cold, empty even. And in that moment I understood. I understood everything. Sophie, you've used me. You've lied to me from the very beginning, I said, my voice shaking but firm. Everything we had, everything I thought we were building, it was all a lie, wasn't it? She didn't flinch. She didn't even blink. Instead, she sat there, her posture relaxed, her fingers tapping lightly against the table. A sigh escaped her lips, like she was bored with the entire situation, like this was just another inconvenient moment she had to deal with before moving on. Zach, she said, her voice low, steady, you've been so naive. Everything I did, every move I made, it was all for me. For my future. You were just the means to an end. I never cared about you the way you thought I did. You were just a tool to get what I wanted. I froze. Her words, so cold, so deliberate, cut deeper than any betrayal I could have imagined. Sophie, the woman I thought I knew, the woman I thought loved me, had never been on my side. She had been using me from the start. The inheritance was always yours, Zach, she continued, leaning in slightly as if to emphasize every word. But it was never about you. It was about securing my future. About me getting everything I've ever wanted. And I knew exactly how to get it. Every word she spoke was like a dagger, twisting deeper with each syllable. It hit me, the truth I had been blind to for so long. The inheritance, the love, the trust. It had all been part of her plan, a game she had played with me as the pawn. I thought we were partners. I thought we were in this together. But I was nothing more than a stepping stone to her dreams. And it hit me all at once. Sophie wasn't the woman I thought she was. She wasn't a partner, a confidant, or even a friend. She was an opportunist, and I had fallen for it. But there was one thing Sophie hadn't counted on. She had underestimated me. I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out my phone, pressing a button. The screen lit up, revealing a video I'd secretly recorded during our conversation, every word of her confession captured clearly. The realization hit her before she could speak. The color drained from her face as she saw the screen. Her mask of calm began to crack just a little. I've been recording everything, Sophie, I said, my voice steady now. Every lie, every manipulation. The truth is out there now, and there's nothing you can do to stop it. The video had already been sent. It had been sent to Jared, to my family, to everyone who had been part of this twisted game. Sophie's carefully crafted world of lies was about to come crashing down. You can't be serious, she spat, her voice tinged with panic. She stood up, knocking her chair back, her hands trembling. You're threatening everything we've worked for, everything I worked for. But it was too late. The damage was done. The truth had been exposed, and Sophie's world of deceit was crumbling, piece by piece. Everything you wanted, Sophie, it's slipping through your fingers now. You're not going to get away with it. She took a step toward me, desperation in her eyes, but I was already walking away. I didn't need to say another word. I had already said everything that needed to be said. As I turned and walked out the door, my heart felt heavy. But I wasn't broken. I was free. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I could breathe again, like the weight of the world had been lifted from my shoulders. I left Sophie standing there, her entire future collapsing in on itself. The final shot is of me walking into the night, the city lights flickering in the distance, the sound of my footsteps echoing through the empty streets. I was done. I was walking away from a toxic relationship, a life built on lies. And as the camera lingers on my retreating figure, the question lingers in the air. Will Sophie ever face the consequences of her actions? Or will the world continue to let her hide behind her lies? I didn't have the answer. But one thing was certain. I was done being part of her game. The rest was up to her.